Welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Marc Laithwaite. How you doing, Mark?
Doing very well. Very well, John. How are you?
I am very well too. Stephen, how are you?
I am good, John. Nice to hear Mark's dulcet tones. Looking forward to this wee catch up.
Yeah, more dull, less sit.
It's a fantastic way to open season 14. Very exciting things just around the corner, but also an opportunity to have a wee glance in the rear view mirror to what happened in Coniston and surrounding area in July 2025. What would be good though, Mark, for people who maybe are hearing about Lakeland, imagine that for the very first time. Wee bit of background. When did the Lakeland 5100 start, and how many runners was there in that first year?
I mean, a ballpark figure, I think there was 60 overall. So I think 20 people, maybe there's more than 60, maybe closer to 90. There was 20 people in the 100 or something like that, 20, 30 people in the 100, and about 40, 50 people did the 50. But it was a very, very small number. But yeah, 2008, that was back in 2008. And some of my friends had been out and ran what was UTMB had just kind of formed, and they'd been out and done UTMB, and they said to me, I'd already organised some events, and they said, you should organise a running race in the Lake District that's similar to UTMB. So there wasn't an ultra in the lakes at that time. So we put it together, and by chance, there was actually a shop in Ambleside, and it used to be called Rock and Run for many, many years, Rock and Run, and probably going back like 30 years or something now. It's called Rock and Run. But then it changed to Lakes Runner and Lakes Climber. And the lad who used to run Lakes Runner, he put me in contact with Montaigne and Petzl. And we had a meeting in Lakes Runner. That would be 2007, we're talking now. We had a meeting in Lakes Runner, and that's how it started. Montaigne said, look, we'll chuck a bit of cash in. Petzl said, yeah, we'll throw a bit of cash in. Martin Bergerud, who runs the boot checkpoint. He was a Petzl representative who was there at the time. The marketing manager of Montaigne, he's left now. Paul Cosgrove, he was the guy that started it off, and he went off working for a few other companies, Berghaus and a couple of others, I think. But Martin Bergerud was the Petzl rep, and he's still there. And he's a chap who manages boot. So yeah, that's how it started. We had a bit of a chat, said let's have a go at it, and we ran it with a small number of people. But I must admit, after that first year, I thought, I think Petzl and Montaigne chucked £1,000 in each, and we probably lost about £8,000 that year, putting it on. And I thought they're just going to walk away. And Paul from Montaigne said, no, we're going to stick with it. You know, it'll work. We can do it. So we gave it a second year, and it jumped in the second year to like 200 or 300 people, which we thought was massive. And then it just continued to grow from there. So yeah, it's a good story.
Got a question. Have you ever ran it yourself? Like, no, obviously on the weekend because you're busy, but I wondered if you ever recce'd the routes or done them.
I've been round the routes. So yeah, I've done the course in, various sections, but probably never more than like a 20-mile section in one go or something like that. But yeah,
something to think about for the future, Mark.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'd ever do it, to be honest. It just, I really enjoy kind of being around for the whole weekend and obviously the managing side of it. But I don't think it would be enjoyable for me to run it, because I think I just want to know what was going on, and I'd be concerned that there were problems and stuff like that. So I've pretty much consigned myself to never ever running it, which is fine. I don't mind. I can run the 51 weekends of the year. So Terry, on the other hand, I mean, but more of that later. But yeah, it's not. I've no desire to take part in it, because I just think it's too important to me to, have my head somewhere else that weekend.
Yeah. There was a bit of chat this year, pre-event, about what the theme was going to be. There always has been in the last 3-4 years. There's always been the same. What's the theme going to be? And we've had some, for want of a better expression, some absolute belters of themes. But the theme changed this year. Say a bit about that, Mark.
So the idea of the theme, really, there was never meant to be themes at all. And we had the lockdown, 2020, wasn't it? I forget now, lockdown was so long ago. So in 2020, we only had the virtual. And the virtual was great, you know, because obviously, I don't know if you can remember back now, but virtual events really didn't exist until lockdown. You know, they just weren't a thing. And we had to cancel the event. And I can remember sending out the email and saying, look, you know, you're probably going to expect this email from us, and we're going to have to postpone it. We've transferred everybody's entries to the following year. If you don't want to do it the following year, we'll give you a refund. And we thought about running a virtual event, and we had no idea how it would work. And all the events, the entry systems, you know, the kind of software you use for entering events, all of the people who have that kind of software, they were all in the process of building virtual events because they realized that this was going to be the thing for the next year or two. So there happened to be the software available for us to run a virtual event. So we just said, well, let's just have a go and see if anybody enters. And we had like over 2,500 people entered the virtual event that year. And it was, I was watching some more videos on Facebook recently and going back, and it's just like a foreign time completely, you know. But it was great. So we had over 2,500 people did it that year. And then in 2021, you remember we still had issues there because people were coming in, they didn't want to get on buses, and there was a lot of people saying you shouldn't be doing the briefing in the hall and things like that. So it was a tricky one because, I mean, one of the things I talked about this year about the event is that kind of connection and people coming together. And we thought we're finally getting back together, but we weren't quite back together because no one wanted to sit next to each other and everybody wanted to wear a mask. So it was still quite stifled, I thought, in 2021. And but someone happened to say to me, have you thought about doing a Blues Brothers theme in 2021? Because we're getting the band back together after a year off. And it was actually Richard and Ange. So Ange, who manages the Dalemain checkpoint, and her husband Richard, and they've been there since every year. You know, if you remember, I got Ange up on stage this year at the presentation right at the start. So it was actually her and Richie said, oh, you should do Blues Brothers and we'll get the band back together. So we did this theme in 2021. So that was the first time we've done it. And there was no intention then that was going to be a theme every year. That wasn't the plan. But then people enjoyed it so much, I think we just rolled with it. And then in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. So we wanted to do something there. And we did a bit of a play on Woodstock, and we did Conestock and Make Legends Not War. And did some fundraising for various things there, didn't for refugees and things like that. And so then there was a theme in 2022. So then you kind of think, right, well, what's 2023? And people were asking. So we did country and western in 2023. And then it's like, what's next? And then you go from country and western, Top Gun would be great. So we did Top Gun in 2024. And I just kind of thought, and then I was getting really pushed on it. What's the theme for 2025? What's the theme going to be? And I was sitting and thinking about it, and I had a conversation with a couple of people about it. And I was trying to explain this, that the concept of the theme was just that there was just something really poignant that year, which made us have a theme that year, but it was never intended to be every year. And I think if you're sitting there going, God, we've got to think of a theme. What can the theme be? If it's that hard, there shouldn't be a theme. You know, I don't just want to make a mockery out of the whole race and go, let's pick another film, or let's do Grease and we'll have pink ladies and T-birds, although that would be cool. Do you know what I mean? Uncle Terry as Danny Zuko. Now that would be cool. But you know, ABBA and all that. People were shouting all these different things, and I don't want to make a mockery of the race by having just forcing the issue of we need to have a theme. So someone come up with something and we'll pick the best one and we'll just run with it. And that's not what it was ever meant to be about. So I just thought, if there isn't something really poignant which we want to kind of showcase that year, then we're not doing a theme. But it made me think about, I mean, obviously it was our 18th year as well, which was a bit about that. And I wanted to kind of go back to the it's not about fancy dress and, you know, having a movie as a theme for the event or anything like that. You know, the theme of the event is the people that take part. It's the volunteers that come and help. That's what the event is all about. So I wanted to switch it back and just kind of go back to basics and go, no, you're the theme. You know, so tell me your stories. What's it meant to you? We've been here 18 years. Tell me your background. Tell me your story. And that was the theme. So I think some people still didn't get it, but the theme was the stories. Hence asking, what's your story? And posting those stories on the Facebook page coming up to the event. And the event logo was, of course, an open book. And that's what it was about. It was about people's stories, you know, and 18 years of people who've been doing the event and people who sadly aren't with us anymore. And that's what it was really. That was the theme for this year was 18 years of stories.
And it was brilliant. It worked brilliantly. So
Yeah.
so emotional, some of the things as well, people that are invested. And I think you've mentioned before, I think every year you mention at the presentation ceremony about families that have got involved and kids that have grown up. We're doing that sort of stuff. And people like me, like Stephen and I, our first year was 2021, Stephen, because of the pandemic. So every year that we'd been, there was a theme, and a lot of people would be the same, thinking there's been a theme maybe since the start. You know? But so thank you very much for explaining that. Makes perfect sense.
I would say with the stories as well. I mean, I tried to find some good stories, and people are sending me some really good stories about the, and I was posting them all the way up to the event, wasn't it, for a couple of months on Facebook and picking out different people. And then you had those kind of iconic stories like Jackie getting the 10th finish and things like that, and lots of people picking up on that. But then, I mean, you've probably seen this, that after the event, those stories just continued on the Facebook page. And some of them, you're reading them thinking, bloody hell, like, some of the stories you were reading, they were really hard hitting and they were quite brave of people. And obviously they felt comfortable enough to go on and post some really personal stories in that group. So I was hoping that people would tell stories, and we did get stories before the event, but I was surprised how many stories we then got with people opening up afterwards and talking about, their personal history and things like that and things that had happened in their past. And there was some, really incredible stories. So obviously it struck a chord with a lot of people, and they did feel that they could say something. But I mean, we'll say with if you think about the tapestry of the event, with like whether it's Marc Willett. Let's take Marc Willett as an example. Marc Willett takes part in the 50, bumps into Paul Potts, tells me that he's seen the X Factor singer Paul Potts singing Nessun Dorma in Great Langdale. We have a bit of a joke about it, and now we have an opera singer that sings Nessun Dorma as a consequence of that. And then subsequent to that, Mark's son then passes away, and now we fundraise for him at Tilberthwaite. And then just as much, you guys doing a podcast a few years back, and I remember listening to the podcast and laughing out loud because you said that Debbie Martin Consani had DNF'd the Chippy Q. And I just remember that line when I was, but then I listen to, now you come along every year and you interview people, and then you're involved, and I just think that's all part of the tapestry. All of those people, you think about how many people are, including yourselves and all of the people that help at checkpoints and everything. Think how many people there are that are kind of really woven into it. It's mind blowing, really, when you look at. It's just such a vast web of people now, isn't it? Who have all played a role in the event, So I've not been drinking, I have to say. I know I'm going off at a bit weird tangents here, but you know what I'm saying, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's weird how it's kind of evolved, but I like that, and how it organically grew as well, and not kind of. It's not an event in a box, is it? It's not we come in, we have a model, we follow it. It just changes year on year and evolves, So.
And Montaigne, I've stuck with you for that whole time through all the craziness as well, and they've been the headline sponsor since day dot, and Petrol as well, still there as well. So what to be said for that?
Yeah, again, I mean, the thing is with Montaigne, I mean, we always get offers for sponsorship, and people contact us, and they can offer more and stuff, but you've got to have some loyalty as well, haven't you? And it's not just Montaigne and sponsors. There are. I'm not going to go into the stories, but there's lots of other people, and I've said this a million times. People that helped me in the very early years, and without those people helping, and the sponsors were one of those. Fall into one of those categories of getting help in the early years, but it would never have got off the ground. So you've got to be loyal to people and stick by them, because you owe them. So I mean, with Montaigne probably aren't listening to this podcast, but if they are, if they want to, they can continue to sponsor it for as long as they want to sponsor it. And if someone came and offered double the money, I wouldn't accept it.
Well, Montaigne listening, we know that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, they can match it if they want to, if they're listening. But truthfully, without Montaigne, and this isn't me kind of, making some kind of speech about sponsorship and thanking our sponsors. But without Montaigne putting that cash in right at the start, there wouldn't be an event full stop, you know. So you owe people these things, don't you?
Yeah, it's the leg up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about the other side of the event and money, because a lot of money goes to the local community, doesn't it? And I know a lot of that goes through people who run checkpoints get so much money that they can choose where that goes. Do you want to say a bit about that for people who maybe haven't heard that side of it?
Yeah, I mean, we give bigger donations. So we founded that Coniston Community Fund. So I'm not stupid enough to think that we don't upset people locally, because you're always going to upset people locally and people who feel they don't benefit from the event. And however well you organise an event, if of that scale in a relatively small village, there's always going to be people upset. So I think it's only right that you try and give as much back as you can to the local area. So we have that £10,000 which goes to Coniston, and they have a community fund, and that £10,000 gets split. So people in the village can say, well, we'd like 300 quid for this, or we'd like 500 quid for that. And it could be anything from, you know, like a social gathering for local pensioners through to the Girl Guides, or it could be something that the primary school needs, or the football club needs something. So, and a mother and baby group, whatever it is, and they just put a bid into, and that's got nothing to do with us. We just put the £10,000 in the pot, and then the parish council just divvy it up. So that's quite nice. I think that most people in Coniston have benefited some way, and that's aside from obviously the income that comes into the hotels and whatever else over that weekend. But then we do large donations to mountain rescue and stuff. But we try and when we did set the charity up, so we have a registered charity, and what I wanted to do is, there's a lot of great charities out there, but a lot of them are huge charities where there's certain charities where if you give them £10,000, they would go, all right, cheers for that. But it's quite a small drop in the ocean for them, you know, the bigger charities. So we always wanted to try and donate in smaller amounts to more people who really needed the money. You know, so if you went to a local Girl Guide group and gave them £500, that could have more impact than giving a larger charity £10,000, you know? Because it's all volunteers, and that kind of money makes a big difference to them. So one of the things we try and do, and half the time, because you'd be surprised as well, it sounds stupid that you can't give money away, but you've got to find people to donate to. So if you think, if I gave you £20,000 now and said, right, split it up into 40 £500 donations and go and find 40 local community causes near to you and give each one of those 40 causes £500 each. To find 40 viable and suitable causes would take you a long, long time. And it's a logistical nightmare, and it's a lot of admin work. So to take that off me, and I know what I'll do, I'll drop it on the checkpoint teams instead. So there's 14 checkpoints on the course. So each checkpoint has an owner in effect. So if you were thinking about Seathwaite, checkpoint 1, there is a village hall, and someone owns and looks after that village hall. So there's a lady called Gail who lives in the village, and we say to her, we book the checkpoint, we book that village hall through her for the event weekend. But then we say to her, listen, you give £500 to something local in the village or something local to you, pick a cause, you get to choose. So our only correspondence with her is that we just contact her every year to book the village hall. But then we give her we pay for the village hall, and we give her a £500 donation, and she gets to give it to something local. And then the team who are staffing that checkpoint, we'll say to them as well, you've got £500 to pick something local. And I'll pick something that's relevant for you. And it just so happened that the team, the Irish crew who were managing Seathwaite, one of the guys in that team had something close to his heart. It was relevant to him and his family. And the rest of the team went, yeah, that's a good one. We're all going to go with that. So there's £1,000 goes to each of the 14 checkpoints. And the person who owns the checkpoint, whether it's the village hall or whether it's the Boot Water Mill or whether it's the farm at Wasdale, whoever owns that gets 500 quid to something local. And the team that manage it, strollers, Petzl, whoever, they get to choose £500 to something that's close to their heart as well. And that makes it easier for me because I just get 28 donations. People go, there you go, there's 28 causes you can donate to. So in some ways it makes it simpler for me as well. But it's nice because it's personal to those teams. They're getting a thank you. The stuff that's, a lot of it goes locally. So if, it goes back to those areas where the checkpoints are. And it just spreads it a bit as well, rather than, I like to do that rather than say, well, let's give 10 grand to one place. we'll split it into, 20 donations instead, and or 10, 20 donations, and split it between various things. And then we did all the primary schools as well. That's quite a nice one that we picked. I think 16 primary schools that kind of are just off the whole of the 100 route. So if you followed the route all the way around the Lake District, there's about, I think it was 14 or 16 primary schools that are kind of just off. So if you lived on the route, you would go to one of those schools. If your children would go to one of those schools, and we gave £500 to each of those schools as well. So we had like eight grand that got split into 16 donations of £500 each.
Brilliant. So it's staying local. It's investing, as you say.
Yeah.
Some people will get a wee bit irate about all these people descending on Coniston and then going around that route. But by doing that kind donation work, that's sort of mitigating that as well. You're doing your best for the community as well. So
and if you give some money to the school, then the parents will find out about it and know that race that came through at 2:00 in the morning, actually they gave 500 quid to the school. And I don't do it for that reason, to try and deflect complaints. That's not at all why we do it. But people at least know that we're trying to give stuff back and invest in the areas that are along the route as well.
Yeah. Do you know roughly your total that you've given to good causes since the race started?
Well, me and Terry did a calculation, and we think so. Bear in mind that other people are raising money for charity as well. So people have raised thousands themselves. But if you just look at the money we've raised, that we by our calculations, that we hit £1 million this year.
Wow! Congratulations on that, man. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So we had to go right back and do the maths, but we did the calculations, and we reckon we hit £1 million. Because in the latter years, it's been creeping towards like £100,000 a year. But obviously we've been going 18 years. But you've got the virtuals on top of that as well, because like the virtual this year we raised 10,000, and we didn't have that many in the virtual. And then you got the Christmas virtual, and we do another 10,000 in the Christmas virtual, and that all goes to charity as well. So if you do a summer virtual and a Christmas virtual, you can get 25,000 just from that, aside from the actual event, the main event. But so we worked on about £1 million. We worked on, we reckon if we haven't hit the million, we're only a few quid off this year.
And then there's always that the bucket or whatever it is, the donation box at Tilberthwaite as well. For what you've mentioned about Jacob's Ladder as well.
Anna, that's been good. I think it just comes back to, I suppose, these traditions, if you like, and these stories that are kind of interwoven into the event. Because I mean, from a lot of those stories come the traditions, don't they? And I think people just accept that now. They know when they get to Tilberthwaite, the first thing they're doing is just reaching in the pockets trying to pull the quid out. Yeah,
definitely, which is brilliant, and I think it's well publicised as well. Can I just a very, very short, quick side question? Whose uncle is Terry?
My uncle?
Yeah.
Whose uncle did you think he was?
No, but people ask that question. His uncle, but whose uncle is he? It's Mark's uncle Terry. That's why he's called Uncle Terry. So
so he's my uncle. So my mum is sisters with Terry's wife. My auntie Diane is my mum's sister. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you.
So because I kind of when we first started, I used since I was a child, would refer to him as Uncle Terry. And people, for some reason, just thought I was joking and started calling him Uncle Terry. So I don't know why. Like you call someone a nickname or something. I don't think they realised he was my uncle when I was talking to. And then I think it was winding him up a bit. And then when I saw it was winding him up, that's when I really started egging everybody on and telling them to call him Uncle Terry. So then it's collected from there. He loves it. He loves it. Yeah. So Diane doesn't love it. We're up at Terry's daughter, Emmy, they have a farm just near Lancaster, a big dairy farm. And I was up there a couple of months ago. Sometimes my kids go up and ride with her kids on the ponies and stuff. And I was out walking, and Terry and Diane were there. We were out walking up over Arnside Knot. And we were chatting about it. And they were laughing about when they'll walk in the lakes quite a lot. Terry never stops walking. But there'll be people, we'll see him, he'll walk. There'll always be somewhere where he'll be walking on the route, just by coincidence. and people will see him and come over and want selfies with him and photos. Uncle Terry, it's Uncle Terry, and they get the cameras like, can you get selfies and stuff? And he's like, oh, oh God, we got stopped again by people taking photographs of me. And so Diane's just stood there rolling her eyes in the background, like, not again, So so he loves it really. Yeah.
and the pair of you didn't have to pull off the Gallagher brothers at the presentation ceremony. That was brilliant. Terry strolling up that arch over the Marshall's making, he's just strolling up as cool as you like. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And we only planned that an hour before. We ran into Coniston and bought those hats and glasses about an hour before. Now, I'll tell you who did it. You know Paul, Mr. DJ.
Yeah.
I just said to him, what if we walked down, we got our like Montaigne Parker jackets and zipped them up and said, if we could just get some of those bucket hats and sunglasses. And Paul, and it was like 11 o'clock on the Sunday, and he ran into Coniston and just went to one of the little tourist shops and come back with hats and glasses. So it was literally like 30 minutes before we just it was a last minute decision, but go with the flow.
I see Paul's lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
Yes, he's looking tremendous.
I think he had he had a bit of a health thing. He had a bit of a health scare. You won't mind me saying this because he posted it on Facebook anyway.
Yeah, he did.
But he became diabetic, and he changed all his diet and he lost a load of weight, and his blood sugar levels have come back down to normal. So he's technically now not diabetic.
Brilliant.
So he made a massive effort. But I've seen he's running PBs and everything now. He's just smashing it. So it's maybe one of those really horrible things which has had a positive impact in a way because he's super fit. But yeah, I've let myself go a bit over the last couple of years. And when I turned up, I said, I can't even come and sit with you now and feel like I'm okay. Because you must said, I felt comfortable sitting with you. Yeah.
Beware if Mark sits next to you ever.
Yeah.
But Paul sort of typifies as well that community spirit. See, on the Friday night, you don't know about this one, Mark, but on the Friday night where I was going to chat with Ali Bailey, I couldn't get any sort of PA system working, and there was music playing in the marquee, and then I got taken across. Joe took me across to the briefing hall where you just finished, and Paul dropped what he was doing, came across and sorted me out without any hassle. Absolutely brilliant. And that's just him. And he also played some banging tunes. Over the weekend as well. So.
And it goes back to the same again. You're talking about the people and the stories, and there's another guy who's ran the 50 for quite a few times. I think he had a go at the 100, and then he said to me, "Hey, I work on." I think the sound had gone in the hall once, and he just came up to me and said, "That sound was awful." He said that you don't want to be using the school speakers. He said, "I do a bit of this for my job. That's what he does." And he said, "So if you want me to bring my speakers next year, I'll bring my speakers." And I didn't know him from Adam, and I went, "Yeah, okay, mate, that's fine." And now he's Mr. DJ, and and that's it. And he comes every year now, and that's who he is, and everybody knows him. And he's goes to park runs, and people shout Mr. DJ, and I just think that there's certain things I always remember from the event, and it could be stories, it could be people, it could be circumstances, but I also think there's a few iconic pictures. And there's pictures, I think, which will stand the test of time. And one of them is him with an American football shirt on, an American football helmet, stood up like that. So have you seen that picture, which quite often does around on Facebook? And it's that picture. And I like the picture because for anybody who's never been to the Lakeland 50 or Lakeland 100, they will look at that picture and just go, what the hell? What is going on? Because there's no context to it. Some guy with an American football helmet on just stood there with his arms in the air like he's celebrating, and a Dallas Cowboys shirt on. So I think that's one of the most iconic photographs in the last 18 years is Mr. DJ dressed as an American footballer.
What a great theme that would be.
I know. All part of the rich tapestry.
I think we've got our podcast art photo, John.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Now, this year, we talk about things evolving, and things have certainly evolved. You went from under 100 runners 18 years ago to this year. It was kicking on for 2,000 runners over the two events. I know last year, when we were doing last year, on the Friday afternoon, the registration, the queues were all around the school, and people were. You can sense people getting a bit frustrated. This year, no queues What was the difference?
Yeah, I mean, you try and tweak it every year. I mean, the numbers in the events haven't really changed now for the last 3 or 4 years. It's stayed pretty steady. We were 100 less this year than last year, but actually 100 more turned up on the day than last year. So there were less no-shows this year. So we ended up with the same number of runners, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was 100 less entries, but 100 more turned up on the day. So I don't really know what happened last year, because the year before, there wasn't a lot of difference the year before. I mean, I know we changed to the check-in system and we're using the QR codes for the first time, weren't we, last year? So 2024 was the first time we QR codes. So there might always be a little bit of a blip when you're using a new system. But I do remember last year, like queues going all the way back out onto Lake Road. And the volunteers that work in the hall, we have 2 shifts. So they'll work 4 or 5 hours and then the second shift comes on and they do 4 or 5 hours on, 4 or 5 hours off. And that rotates through registration up until end of play. And then those same teams switch to finish line and they do so many hours on, so many hours off. So last year, everybody pulled a double shift. So no one had a break from the start to the end of straight through on Friday. So with double staff, we still had this queue. And then so we obviously recognised was a queue last year. And we needed to change it a bit this year. And there was only a couple of little small changes. So when you get to that first computer and you check in, we had 2 more computers, which doesn't sound a lot, but it was enough. And then we changed a few things at kit check, because whilst you've got to be strict at kit check, sometimes you can be overly strict and keep people there for 10 minutes. So we're just like, look, people need to have the kit, but at the same time, we need to be careful how long we're taking here, because whilst you want to be thorough, you know, and I'm saying this out loud because people aren't stupid. You can kit check everybody as much as you want, but they can walk back to the car and throw it in the car and get another bag out. Mm-hmm. So, do you know, unless you're going to kit check people on course, and you know, that's a whole different discussion, and that is something we have thought about in future years that we may introduce at various points. But that's got its own logistical nightmares. Kit checking people at the start, you have to trust that people are going to not be stupid and not put their lives at risk and not put the lives of their rescuers at risk and carry the correct kit. So the more you do for people, sometimes the less responsible they become themselves. So you've got to be a little bit aware of that. Mm-hmm. But we made a few small changes. So we get to about 12:30 on the Friday and the hall is empty. The marquee, there's like nobody in the queue. And at 12:30 in 2024, they were queuing up the road. So I panicked, thinking, my first thought is there's been an accident on the M6. People are held up, and that's why they're not registering. And what's going to happen is later on in the afternoon, in the evening, it's going to be absolute carnage, or the emergency registration on the Saturday morning, where realistically, we can't register many people on a Saturday morning. It's just impossible. If 500 people turned up Saturday morning, the whole race would just be a disaster. So we just can't be doing that. I wasn't really sure what the problem was. So I went and spoke to Open Tracking, because they have all the stats from the previous years. We have all the stats to hand, and said, at 12:30 in 2024, how many people had we registered? And at 12:30 this year, how many people had we registered? And last year at 12:30 in 2024, by 12:30, we'd registered 800 people. By 12:30 this year, we'd registered 1,250 people. So those 450 people would be in the queue in 2024. Mm-hmm. So we'd shifted 450 people extra by 12:30 this year by just making some small changes to the registration queue. So that's what we found. And the same with the car parking as well, because we get a lot of stick if there's car parking, traffic queuing on Lake Road. Uh-huh. And we get a lot of grief from it. It comes back and really bites us in the arse. So managing that with a massive car parking team and managing the queue, getting the queue on the field and not on the road, that there was zero queue on the road as well. So it was all very odd. People were a little bit, it was almost unnerving that it was so calm the whole weekend.
But it makes it a better experience for the runners, less stress.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're done and they're away.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for them. But it was a little bit unnerving because I didn't expect it to work that well and be that calm. To have no queue at 12:30 for registration, I thought something's gone wrong here. Where is everyone? You think it's going to hit you later on, but so yeah, you know, I think this year, I mean, we have a management team of about 15 people who managed the event, and we all agreed it was that from the organisation side, and this isn't patting ourselves on the back, but just in terms of the registration and the car parking and all that kind of stuff, it was by far the slickest we've had.
It's like the process mapping and a bit as
Yeah.
a business tool, isn't it? You're just
Yeah, that's
speeding
right.
up. That's like what Costa do to churn out more coffees a day.
Yeah. And do you know what? Again, what the other thing is as well, I think it was difficult for me to let it go a little bit, is that so I've had regular volunteers, people who've come and marshalled at the event, and then we've kind of let them into the inner circle and said, look, can you manage a team rather than just being a marshal? So, and now they've come back every year. These repeat people keep coming back, and you'll know who they are. Well, you know the ones in the pink t-shirts, you'll recognize them all because you see them every year, and you probably know their names. But the people in the pink t-shirts who keep coming back, and every year they come back, they know the job and they do the job better and better. And we started out like basically spreading it out a little bit more. So we have, I mean, it would be a complex thing to start talking about and going into in depth, but the transport rota for how people are collected from checkpoints and how sweeper teams are collected, how sweeper teams are dropped off. We have a whole fleet of coaches and buses and minibuses going all around the lakes for 48 hours non-stop. And that's in itself is just one big job to manage, especially when we had sweepers thrown in that the sweepers need collecting, the sweepers need picking up. And so I outsourced that a few months before the race. I said to a couple of the regular managers, I just want you to manage that for the whole weekend. And that's the kind of thing normally you would keep hold of. But and then the tracking system, there's a couple of volunteers who've been there now for 10 years and they know the race inside out. And we kind of push that onto them and go, that's yours now, you manage that. So if there's a problem, you come and report to us. But if there's not, you just manage the whole thing all weekend. And they've done it so many years that they don't need any help with it. And all of these things are getting let go to various people now. And these are all people who just came to run the race and then came to volunteer. And you think, oh, they're really good. Let's get them into the management team. And now they're in charge of running different sections of the event. So we've got such a solid team, like such an amazing team. And it's the first year I was walking around this year, just walking around the tent thinking, I've got nothing to do here, and it felt a bit, I was uncomfortable with it because I wanted to feel like I had to be doing stuff but there wasn't really anything for me to do. I was like a lost kid walking into the HQ room and just going, do you need me for anything? Is it like anything? No, it's all good. Nothing you need to know about. So I found myself just walking around the tent, sat down, drinking coffee and just chatting to competitors and the families and stuff. And then I thought, I actually quite like this. So it's my role.
That's a
I
sign
like
that everything, all the proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Yeah. So it was, there was a lot of stuff this year that just worked really well. And I just think, and knowing that team's coming back again next year, and this was the first year that they were handed on some of those roles. So they'll be even better at those roles next year because they've done it now. So it can only just keep getting better and better.
Getting back to an earlier question, Mark, are you ever going to run the 50 because you're actually surplus to requirements?
No. I know.
I'm only kidding.
No, I still want to be around all weekend, and I personally I don't feel comfortable with running it because I mean there's a couple of things like I won't do. Like one of them is run it because I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in that position where we had a really serious incident at the event and I'm out on the course and people can't contact me and I'm out on the course.
Bad optics.
And the other thing is as well, it's not just that, it's things like, I just think I'd be super nervous. I wouldn't feel comfortable if it was a really serious incident and someone said, well, where's the organizer? Well, he's running it. He's not within contact. Unfortunately, we can't get hold of him at all. It just makes me feel really uncomfortable.
No, and that seed in your head would just,
Yeah, and it'd be there all the time, Totally. So when I'm running, I would just be, I'd get to every checkpoint and I'd be saying to them, tap me into the Wi-Fi. Let me just speak to Joe and make sure everything's all right. And I'd be wanting to get to the next checkpoint to tap me into the Wi-Fi to speak to make sure it's okay. I don't think I'd enjoy it, to be honest. I wouldn't enjoy it.
This year's event was a bit different because the weather was really kind this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that it always rains most years, and I mean some years you have shockers and some years you don't. But I thought that this year was probably the best we could have hoped for with the weather. You
Best
know,
on
and
record.
we had that, yeah. We had that scorching weather coming up. It was really hot up until the weekend before, and then it was forecast rain all week. So we were then thinking, oh God, it's just the rain's a pain in the arse with a car park. Are you going to be pulling people off with tractors and stuff like that? So it's that really. It's the management of the car parking and the camping fields, and then just general management of checkpoints is a lot harder when it's raining. You know, I don't think the runners notice it that much. I don't think they're that bothered. If it's raining, it's raining. They're just running in it, aren't they?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Also the aftermath as well, the state you're leaving the field in and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next Monday, 1st of September, registration opens for 2026. At the presentation ceremony, you talk about the 48-hour rule, don't you? So people have had that 48 hours. They've had plenty of time to think about it. And here we are, registration opening next week. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting again because I think we're never cocky about the event. So I'm pretty sure we're going to fill the event. But everybody keeps saying, how many people are you going to get in the ballot and how many people do you think will apply for the ballot? So I do think we'll get good numbers in the ballot because this year was successful and we've had lots of people want to come and do it again. So, but you never stop getting nervous. You know, we never get to a point where we feel so comfortable that you're thinking, oh, it'll be absolutely fine. And, 5,000 people put their name in the ballot. There's still a little bit of you thinks, what if you only get 500 applicants? So it's, but just, I suppose, just looking forward to the whole process again now and getting the ballot underway and planning for 2020, 2026. And yeah, I love it really. It's like a new year for us, when you get all the entries in, because I mean, the Facebook page goes quiet as well after the event. So there's a few weeks after the event where it's absolutely bouncing and then it starts to die down. And then what will happen now is the Facebook stuff will start to pick up again because people start to get excited and because they're going to put their name in the ballot, and then there'll be the people disappointed and the people excited that they got in, or the ones that didn't get in will be disappointed. So it's and then we of course start penciling recce days then, and then the whole kind of Lakeland year starts again. So it's yeah, it is. But yeah, it's just passing too quick, aren't they? 18 years. It's nuts when you think about how. I know it's a very kind of stereotypical thing to say. Oh God, time flies, doesn't it? But it's just nuts for me. 18 years. So my eldest daughter's 11, and obviously she's been there every year. I just can't comprehend that I ran the event for 7 years before my daughter was even born. It's just nuts. But yeah, just super excited to organise year 19.
Year 19. Oof. Even saying it. And for people who, because there are people listening who are hearing about the Lakeland 50-100 for the first time tonight, the 24th to the 26th of July, 2026. Yeah. The Friday to the Sunday, that is. Yeah. And then the window of opportunity to enter is between the 1st of September and...
Yeah, well, it opens at 9 a.m. on the 1st of September, and it closes 48 hours later. So it closes 9 a.m. on the 3rd of September.
So if you're listening to this at 1 minute past 9 on the 3rd of September, you just real fast forward.
Yeah, and we won't accept any late entries into the ballot at all. So it's 1st of September to the 3rd of September, 48-hour window to get in, and then we send out the invites on the 5th. Well, at the latest by the 5th of September. And I say that because I think some people got a bit confused. Or some people doing the Dragon's Back last year or something, and they got invites sent, and then they never accepted the invites. Because when you send out the invite as well, I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure you've got 48 hours. Did we give people 48 hours or 24 hours? 48 hours to accept it.
Right.
So if you don't accept it within 48 hours, and people sit on it, they email back 3 months and go, I've just tried to enter and it won't let me enter. But you get an email, and if you don't click on that email and pay within 48 hours, the place is gone. So we get lots of people emailing us because they didn't click on the email and they've left it. I'm really sorry, I was busy, I was working and stuff, and I didn't click on the email. But by then it's gone. It's already gone. So we tend to we send out. Let's the exact number of invites we'll send out, but let's say we'll send out 2,000 invites. Well, we actually send out. It's some interesting facts for you. We send out 10% more because we know that 10% won't accept it. So if we want 2,000 people to accept it, we'll send out 2,200, and we know we'll only get at most 2,000 people will accept it. And there are various reasons for that. I think one, the problem with a ballot procedure, and it's a pain in the arse this for people who genuinely want to enter. The thing with a ballot is it costs you nothing. So I just throw my name in the hat.
Yep.
And then they get a place and go, oh God, do I really want to do it? Probably not. But it costs them nothing to put the name in the ballot. So they just throw their name in the ballot. And then the other big thing is people want to run it with their friends or partners. So if one, and they'll do a pact. If you get in and I get in, then we'll both do it. If one of us doesn't get in, then neither of us does it. And there's quite a lot of that, you know. So so we always end up with 10% people not accepting. So we send out 2,200 invites. So you've got 48 hours to accept it. And then if there is a big non-acceptance, bigger than that, we may throw out a few more. You know, just say, right, we're just going to pick another 100 people and just send out another 100 invites.
Right.
And then once they're settled, they're generally all done by the 5th of September. And it might be before the 5th, but it'll be by the 5th at least. You'll know whether you're in or not. Then a few days after that, we open the charity entries, and there's 500 charity places. So you enter and you pay your entry fee, but you have to pay another 150 quid, another 150 quid charity money as well. And what we do is, the deal we do is that you pay your entry fee, and then you have to pay another £150 on top. So you've got to pay that up front. And then you go and raise £150 for the charity pot. And then when you've raised that £150 back, we will refund you the £150 that you paid at point of entry. So if you pay £160 to enter the event and £150 charity money, costs you 310 quid. But when you've raised that 150 quid, you get it back. You get a refund back. So it is a bit of a bigger outlay at the start.
Yep.
But,
and that's what I did that in 22, Mark. Personally.
Yeah.
And
I think with the charity place, I mean, there's a lot of charity and a lot of events do charity work, isn't it? And
yep.
there's a lot of, you can go to run London Marathon and get a charity place, but 150 quid compared to what most people ask for these. Yeah, it's £2,000 minimum for a lot of people, isn't it? Normally. Yep. So I think to say it's 150 quid, it's 15 mates chucking a tenner each in, isn't it? You know, and that's where, and then you see the donations to the primary schools in Coniston, and that's where it's coming from, you know.
And a lot of people in the charity will just say, well, I'll just foot that bill. You know, a way of getting in.
And a lot of people just don't even raise money for the charity. They pay the 150 quid themselves, and they just see it as them donating the money, and that's what they do. Yeah. Which is fine if that's what people want to do. Obviously, we don't mind either way.
No.
But it's and it has to be done that way, because when we first did it, we said, right, you pay your entry fee, and then you have to raise £150 before you get to the race day. And we got to race day, we were a week out, and then you're emailing every single charity entrant because you've not heard from them, and they've not raised any money yet. So that it logistically just became a pain in the backside. You couldn't do it.
No.
You know, if someone turns up at registration and you say to them, you haven't yet raised the £150, what, do you let them race? Or, you know, so it was just easier to say, look, pay us the money, go and raise it, we'll refund it back when you've raised it. And then if you don't raise it, well, we've got it anyway, so it makes no difference, you know. The money's there in the pot. Yeah.
From a runner's point of view, somebody who maybe hasn't done the 50 or the 100 before, maybe the 50 the more so, what one bit of advice would you give them, Mark?
If they were doing the 50? Well, I think that what I've been seeing recently is with the 50, I did consider having entry criteria for the 50 and then I sacked it off. I thought it was just a bad idea, because I think anybody could walk around the 50 in the 24 hours. And I don't really want to start having entry criteria for the Lakeland 50. So if you're entering it knowing that you can, well, I was going to say that you can at least run a half marathon or run a marathon, but a lot of them can't. A lot of them are walkers and they just walk it, don't they? So some people are not runners at all.
Yep.
But if you're a hill walker, you can walk around it in the time limit. So you don't need to do any running technically at all, but you just trusting people are going to take some responsibility to recce the course and everything and things like that. So I think for most people coming doing the 50, I would say, one, don't worry about it being the competitive side of it. Just come and enjoy the weekend, because that's what it is. Two, you can walk the whole course. And three, come and learn the route, because that's the biggest thing I would say, is that people just not used to the Lake District, and then they come in on race day. It just blows their mind, because after 6 hours in, and they didn't realise that the hills were like that. So I think just come and enjoy it. Know that you can walk it well within the 24-hour time limit, and you probably don't need to do too much running. I think that's where the runners fall down as well. People come from a running background and they're used to this. Well, I've trained for a marathon, so my longest run would be 18, 20 miles. And now I'm running 50 miles. So how long should my longest run be? And they probably just need to change the game plan completely and just get some walking done,
I think that's how a lot of people they come back that second time, because the first time they've experienced it and they've thought, okay, I could do a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
So they come back that second time, and then they're hooked. They're back a third time and a fourth time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or they get asked to do a podcast.
Yeah.
yeah.
But the thing is, John, you'll be a good person to ask for this, John, because this question I've been asked a lot of times. Like, I had a few mates this year stepped up from the 50 to the 100 the first time. And I know I'm always giving it the whole bravado at the presentation and saying, if you've done the 50 in under 16 hours, then you'll be able to do the 100. And for those of you shaking your head saying, no, I'll never do the 100. Yes, you will. You'll come back and you'll do the 100. But I do think there is a big chunk of people who should never do anything other than the 50 and should not step up to the 100. And I think sometimes they feel pressurized because it's a Lakeland 100 and they're doing the 50, like the smaller event. And surely the progression is that I step up and do the 100. But I don't think there is a natural progression from the 50 up to the 100. I think for probably 70 to 80% of people, the 50 is their 100 and they should stick to the 50. And because I've seen a lot of people try and step up from the 50 to the 100, and it's just a different beast entirely. It's just a completely different beast. It's absolutely brutal. It can break people. And it doesn't need to be the natural step up for everyone who does the 50. The 50 is a limit for a lot of people, and they should feel happy, and they should feel like they've achieved something great doing the 50 and not worrying about stepping up to the 100. But I don't know what your thoughts are, because obviously you did the 50. Did you feel then that because you'd done the 50, it was the next step for you then to step up and do the 100? And what, I suppose, what was your experience of it? Was it, because a lot of people think it's just a bit harder than the 50, isn't it? But what were your thoughts on it?
I'm going to call you out on just a bit harder. It's not just a bit harder. But no, my experience was we'd been down and done the 50, Stephen and I, and then we did the social media, and then a place was offered, and I thought, I don't know if I was challenged to do it, maybe.
Yeah.
But I thought, let's just give it a go. Now, I've done 100 miles.
Yeah.
But the Lakeland 100 is a different beast altogether. For people that maybe don't know, I got timed out at Braithwaite when I was doing the 100. I got to Braithwaite at, I think it was 6:10 in the morning. Checkpoint closes at 6 a.m. So it was a case of, there's your bus there, mate. Get on that bus, that's you up the road. But it is, and I'd recce'd the whole route. I had my foot on the whole route. I'd done it all. I felt okay going into it. But I think you said something earlier, maybe the 50 is some people's 100. And that is a massive achievement, getting that done.
Of course it is,
both Stephen and I, the first time we were down, we hadn't got a foot in the route before that, because it had been the pandemic the year before. You had to stay in your own postcode. Yeah. And then we never knew there was going to be hills at everybody checkpoint, and big hills.
Yeah.
So it's a massive ask. So I think you said as well, get your foot on the route. But I also know there's a lot of people sign up going from the 50 to the 100. A lot of people sign up for the recce's, and on the recce days, specifically the first couple of recce days, they're thinking, this is a bit bigger than what I thought, so.
And that first half as well, I think people who've only done the 50 don't appreciate perhaps how tough that first half is.
Yeah. And there's, and you're going to be out in the first night, you know, and it's a massive challenge. So that's why it's massive kudos to every single person that completes the 100.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's sometimes I wonder whether, you know, some people kind of ruin their experience of Lakeland because they'll do the 50 a couple of times and they love it, and then they come and try the 100, and they might try it once or twice and they'll fail it a couple of times, and you're just thinking, you know, sometimes you don't need to be pushing further all the time and having to do more. And I've got to step up and do the 100. You know, that's my next challenge. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, the 50 is a great achievement. It's a massive achievement. And it's also, and it's supposed to be an enjoyable weekend, not something which leaves you broken, getting a bus back from Mardale Head at, you know, midnight, thinking you failed. So I think it's, I think for people, if people are, you know, thinking about going in the ballot next week and they're thinking, do I do 50 or do we do 100? And one other thing I would say as well, I get a lot of emails from people who've never done the Lakeland 50 and they want to do the 100. And it probably, to say it winds me up is probably the wrong thing, because I'm not necessarily angry about it, but I do think there is an element of serving your time, you know, and not wanting to jump. So people, like, I get emails from people saying, oh, I've never done a trail race, but listen, I'm really committed. I'm going to train with my brother. I've done some triathlons and stuff. Would you let me in 100 next year? And you think, well, no, because you have no idea what you let yourself in for. But also, I think if someone came in 2025 and did the Lakeland 50 specifically with the purpose of going under 16 hours so they can qualify for the Lakeland 100 in 2026, that person has served their time, and they've come and done the due diligence, and I'm going to do the 50, check out the route, and then I'll do the event. I'm going to enter the 100 next year, and they have that plan. And I don't think that people who have little experience should be allowed to jump ahead of those people. So I'm quite keen on that with the qualifying criteria, that if it doesn't look like you've done your due diligence, I'm not saying they wouldn't get in, but they might be at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, and I think that's only fair.
Because you know, I think if people just need to kind of slow down a little bit, and I've written quite a few emails to people who've emailed in, and it usually starts with, listen, just come and do the 50. You know, come and do the 50, and then plan for 2027. Rather than, but maybe because it's statistically it's easier to get in the 100 than it is in the 50, so maybe that's why they want to jump ahead as well.
Could be a thing.
You know,
I was thinking as well. I wonder how many all-time finishers there's been in the 100 and the 50 for that matter, but more the 100. Like, do you know? Because I don't know if there's a 10,000 finisher coming up or something soon.
Oh, now that's an interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Would there be for? Yeah, I don't think we'll be up to 10,000 yet.
Okay.
No, it won't be up to 10,000 yet.
I know you'll get your statistician team into that R&D project.
We'll work out a ballpark figure and then we'll just pretend we know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Like to do with lots of things.
Well, listen, thank you very much, Mark, for giving us your time for season 1 of episode 14. It's been a pleasure. It's fell perfectly with the registration open next week, and it's only 5 days until you find out. So there'll be a lot of technical terms, squeaky bums next week when they find their hat in the ring, and then they'll find out Thursday or Friday if they've actually got a place. So my best wishes to everybody that flings their hat in the ring. And my question is: are you two interviewing and social media? You know, are you in charge of social media again, or are you throwing your hat in the ring? Well, I'm already committed. I'm already committed to a thing next June. So it'll probably be too. So it'll probably be too soon for me. So, but I don't know what Stephen's plans are for the summer.
I mean, I hope you just. I hope you're not running. Then you can just focus on going around and interviewing people. But I wouldn't stop you.
I mean, I wouldn't want to run. I'd just be too worried about John all the time. You can relate to that, Mark, with the race, you know. And you had John down there without a risk assessment on his own this year. So
honestly, loose cannon.
It was I'm no comment from me at this stage.
Okay.
Never say never, you know.
Yeah,
Never say
yeah.
never.
Never say
Yes. But yeah, 1st of September, get your hat in the ring for the 50. Like Mark says, I reckon that's great advice. If you've even got aspirations of doing the 100, make it a 22-month plan rather than a 10-month plan. And Mark, it's always great to get to speak to you. And as well, I missed out this year. I massively had the FOMO. I think I messaged you something of that nature. With John being down there, but you'll see me in some capacity next year.
Yeah, super.
Cool. Okay, Mark. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much. Good to speak to you.